Welcome to Week 2 of the Civ World Cup Season 3. This week we are highlighting a game played between two of the favorites to win the Cup, Pyramid and CC. Pyramid's team features Archetyp, Chuck, Yowert, and Malm, and CC team features Sandro Games, Vladimir, Klen, and Bezdomny. Starting with an overview of the Mali spawn, you can see it doesn't have a lot of desert, but they were surrounded by all of their teammates, allowing Mali to feel safe to sim. For the Pyramid team, you can see Japan on the coast with Korea to the south. Mongolia spawned next to Mapuche and France next to America, and there was no easy access to Mali. Most of the spawns were strong this game. We could guess from the beginning that America and France were going to battle eventually, and the continent splits were ideal for America, getting the +5 bonus on attack in Archetyp's land. Korea had a very strong spawn as well, with lots of hills in Mongolia to provide protection. In the very early game, Japan went for a holy site and managed to get the first religion instead of Norway, snatching Feed the World and Defender of the Faith. Quite quickly, the action heated up between Sandro Games playing Mapuche and Malm playing Mongolia. Mali decided to go with Desert Folklore, leading into a Monumentality Golden Age sim. Malm managed to take very good position against Mapuche early, which gave them the slight advantage in the early game. Korea went for Fertility Rights, which he stacked with the Korea Seiwan bonus for farms. Malm aggressively forward settled Mapuche, and an early volcano erupted in Malm's third city, which gave them a clear edge over Mapuche in the early game. Korea had a good sim early and was boosting all the techs for the team, allowing Malm to easily go through the tech tree and further their edge. France, being all alone, had to be a little more creative, but they got a strong pantheon in God of the Craftsman. Mapuche, Mongolia, and America all got great generals, leaving France without one in the classical era. The tables turned quickly on Mongolia as Mapuche started to take back some of the position they had lost, utilizing the +5 combat bonus against civilizations in a golden age. At the same time, America used their general advantage and foreign continent bonus, which caught France a bit off guard. These early attacks put the French team on the defensive early, as they had to respond to what the CC team was doing. Japan was able to free sim and got a beautiful Earth Goddess to go along with their early religion. They also built up some naval units that had a very little impact on the early game. Mongolia was able to defend the northern front against Mapuche, and even took the city-state Hattusa. However, they left units spread out, and Mapuche was able to capitalize and raise a Mongolian city on the southern front. Mali did a good job simming up in the early game to support the team. Mali took work ethic and cross-culture dialogue, which they used effectively to support the sim. France was able to get units by Zanzibar to put pressure on Norway, who had taken it over, but Norway was able to respond with walls and boats. The timing from Keshigs and crossbows was neck and neck. Mongolia was unsuccessful in preventing Mali from getting their hands on the beautiful Mount Roraima wonder. The advantage was leaning toward the CC team. America's army was forming, and Archetyp was in a very tough position to defend. Meanwhile, Keshigs were unsuccessfully pushing against the Mapuche crossbows with the general. The Pyramid team took a risk by trying a naval push to defeat Norway, while leaving almost no gold for Mongolia and France to defend. The Corsairs from America were powerful and were able to take one of France's cities. Archetyp had to switch all the production in their cities to units just to stay alive. The Caravel push did catch the Russian team off guard, but it was a huge investment and had to pay off quickly for Pyramid to try and come back in the game. To this point, they had mostly been on the backseat. As you can see, the Keshigs did not manage to do much against Mapuche, and the Malian Raiders finally entered battle, which meant a lot of trouble for Mongolia, whose land started to get pillaged. Both France and Mongolia were losing two fronts at the same time, while Norway was able to get a few boats and prevented Japan from capturing their cities for a while. Eventually, Mongolia was able to build up some units to push back against Mapuche a bit, but it wasn't enough. The city fell, and most of Mongolia's army got defeated. During this, Mapuche was able to get districts and an economy up. Overall, 3 cities were lost for Pyramid, and only 1 city lost by CC. Vladimir started the game slowly, but they were able to defend fairly well and gave his team time to gain a further edge. Mapuche put their Malin Riders to more good use by liberating Hattusa, which gave their team a big science boost. We thought France was going to be unable to defend, as America had a well-executed push. However, they got their crossbows out and managed to survive, only losing 1 city. At this point, Japan was able to get the naval advantage on the seas, allowing York to slowly start gaining ground on Norway's cities. At the same time, Mapuche was able to raise a city that was previously flipped to ensure Mongolia could not take it back. As you can see, Japan had complete control of Zanzibar and had a huge amount of ships, perhaps too many as it was a big investment. Mongolia was only on 3 cities now, so they tried to do their best to annoy Mapuche with some pillages. Mali, meanwhile, was behind this, completely untouched, slowly building up to a culture victory win condition. Korea, who we haven't mentioned much of to this point, tried to counter this strategy by getting their culture up, while also being the one getting all the science and boosts for their team. It was a difficult position for Chuck, but they did very well and managed to keep their team in the game. Mali started to spread their religion to get more out of the cross-culture dialogue belief. We can see the Petra City and even some Nazca lines in the sim by Mali. After all this time, Norway was defending well. The game was too close to call, but the CC team had control about 2/3 of the land, while Pyramid was stuck on about 1/3. America started advancing a third wave, which no one believed Archetyp could defend since the Rough Riders were almost there. America had 1,000 military strength of unimproved military, so when it was all upgraded, it was almost 3,000 military strength. All the gold from the Pyramid team had to be sent to France to even survive. At the same time, the CC team was gaining back Norway's cities and gaining diplomatic favor by liberating them, ensuring they would win the next Congress. If Archetyp fell here, it would have been a 3v4, effectively a 2v4 since Mongolia was on limited cities, so Archetyp absolutely had to hold with coursers and crossbows against Rough Riders, which I remind you get bonus culture on kills, as well as a combat bonus when fighting on hills. Eventually, Mapuche tried to get their own science up, as they were afraid of Korea, which was free simming behind this, and he ended up giving some Malin Raiders up to Mongolia. Malm never let the pressure down and kept using units to bother Mapuche as much as possible. The World Congress came and the game plan became a little clearer. Both teams actually voted on great artist points, both to try to deny and achieve culture victory. The capital of Norway fell, but it would be recaptured a few times. At this point, Norway's goal in the game was to get diplomatic favor and provide the gold for the team. France did an amazing job defending. Nobody thought they'd be able to hold on so long. At the same time, Mongolia used the stolen Malin Raiders to get some pillages on Mali. It looked like the Pyramid team would never give up, so CC had to go all in on the culture victory. You can see the amazing sim from Korea, who really carried his team in both science and culture. With Norway, France, and Mongolia on limited cities, the game became somewhat of a 3v2. Korea finally got tanks up and started to push Mapuche from the south. Mapuche had somehow gotten Newton and enough science to defend the initial push. With the outcome of the next Congress, the diplomatic victory was denied for both teams, and the only victory conditions that were in play was science victory for Pyramid or culture victory for CC. But CC was further along in the victory conditions, so Pyramid decided to commit to a military invasion. Mapuche had some brilliant moves in defense. Even though they lacked the technology advantage of Korea, they were able to surround the Korean units and use the tunnels that Pyramid team had built against them. Mapuche was able to kill a lot of units from both Mongolia and Korea, as well as raise more Mongolian cities. We've been hiding the Bermuda Triangle from you this game. It only had a 1/3 chance of teleporting Japan's units into the tiny inland sea next to Mali, but the Pyramid team was in luck. Mali was able to liberate Norway's capital, and Japan started to focus their naval units on a Mali attack. Here is another look at a beautiful Mali sim, which had lured 22 out of 116 tourists needed at turn 105. Slowly, Mali was marching towards a culture victory. Mapuche settled 2 cities in Mali's land, knowing they would eventually be taken by Korea as safety settles. Mapuche's defense was exemplary, but they couldn't overcome the powerhouse that Korea was. At this point, the Bermuda Triangle surprise was revealed as Japan started to attack the coastal cities of Mali, managing to raise one of them fairly quickly, which was the first major blow against the CC team this game. The city was fairly minor, so the CC team was still in the game, making 350 tourism per turn, with 36 out of 133 tourists needed turn 110. Korea managed to get the first city of Mapuche, and as soon as that city fell, other cities fell quickly behind it as Mapuche put everything they could into defending the forward position. Mali did reach rock bands and perform some concerts in Mapuche City before they were completely taken over. Around 10 rock bands were purchased, but at this point Mali had to shift focus to defending against an inevitable Korean invasion. There was one famous rock band that had 5 or more concerts with over 10,000 tourists. The question started to become if Mali could defend long enough to achieve culture victory. Pyramid had a smart strategy to completely kill Mapuche, which forced Mali to have to defend themselves and Mapuche. Korea started to produce only theater script projects to put off the culture victory as much as possible. You can also see they were completing the moon landing project to get extra culture from that as well. America was able to keep a few cities for Mali to perform some more concerts. The CC team was so close to a culture victory, only needing 30 more tourists. Mali had even surrounded Mapuche's last city with planes so Korea could take it, but with a well-timed pillage of a Mali airport, Korea was able to create an opening for their units to take the final Mapuche city, along with 30 tourists from the CC team. This was the final blow that caused the CC team to concede the game to Pyramid. This was an amazing game to watch. Hope you enjoyed the highlights. If you do, don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back next week.